Alright, my friends, welcome back to the channel. I am Kevin, this is Reading the Room, and we're going to talk about the life and whatever's currently happening in the books with Catelyn Stark. She's just a character that I don't ever really talk about. She doesn't even really come into mind other than, yep, that bitch hated Jon Snow. So we're going to jump into how she was raised, how she lived, and what she's currently doing. Notice how I didn't say die or still living, because that's kind of in limbo in my opinion. Enjoy the video. Catelyn Stark, aka Catelyn Tully, is one of the most complex and, in my opinion, tragic characters in George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire. She's primarily seen through her own point of view chapters. Catelyn is not a warrior queen, not a political mastermind like Tywin Lannister. Instead, she is a noblewoman shaped by duty, family, and the rigid expectations of Westerosi society. She was raised as a political asset, basically. She kind of has a story that's about loving your family fiercely, no matter what, and the consequences of that. And in this video, we're going to explore Catelyn Stark as she appears in the books, not the TV show, as everyone knows. They are wildly different. So we're going to trace her life from the beginning as Catelyn Tully, her upbringing, all the way through the Red Wedding and beyond. We're going to examine her motivations, her major decisions, good and bad, her flaws, and why she remains, again, one of the most tragic and misunderstood characters in the entire series. So for point one, Catelyn Tully, again, raised for duty. She is born the eldest daughter of Lord Hoster Tully of Riverrun. It keeps boiling down to basically her house's words: family, duty, honor. They're not empty words for Catelyn. You see this through Westeros. Some houses have words, and the people in that house don't live by those words. Catelyn Tully was about that life. And this is where we get into the being a political asset. She was a highborn lady. She was the eldest daughter. So she was raised to be a future mother of heirs for another house, a keeper of household order, and a political asset through marriage to, again, another house. She's educated in courtesy, management of the household, the faith of the Seven, and the unspoken rules of more or less noble society. From a young age, Catelyn learned that personal desire basically has to take a backseat to everything else. She was originally betrothed to Brandon Stark, and she accepted that match as her duty. And when Brandon goes down to King's Landing after his sister disappears with the intention of fighting Rhaegar, and then the Mad King kills him and his father, she had to make a different choice, so instead she married the younger brother, Eddard Stark, and at this point she barely knows the guy. But she doesn't resist, she obeys, because that's what she was raised to do. This early pattern defines her life. Catelyn chooses duty, even when it costs her any and all emotion. When Catelyn Tully became the Lady of Winterfell, when she traveled north, she entered a land and culture entirely foreign to her. The North worships the old gods, not the Seven, which she was raised to believe in. Northerners are emotionally reserved. You see that in basically every instance where you meet someone from the North. They're super reserved. Winterfell is ancient, cold. Just, to be honest, doesn't seem like the greatest or funnest place to be. Despite this, Catelyn worked hard to be the proper Lady of Winterfell. She manages the household, raises the children, and supports Ned as Warden of the North. Over time, respect for her grows, but she never really feels at home. Again, it's completely different from how she grew up. Her greatest emotional wound, however, came in the form of Jon Snow. Catelyn's treatment of Jon Snow is one of the most controversial, let's call it that, aspects of her character. To Catelyn, Jon is a living, moving embodiment of Ned's infidelity. He's also a threat to to the legitimacy of her actual children and a constant reminder of her humiliation. In Westerosi society, bastards are dangerous. History has shown time and time again that they can challenge true-born heirs and absolutely rip families apart. Catelyn's fear is not irrational, it's cultural or historical. Still, her cruelty to Jon, especially during Bran's coma, is one of her darkest moments. She doesn't abuse him physically, but she withholds all kindness, and that leaves scars on Jon that will be with him more than likely the entirety of the series. And importantly, Catelyn doesn't hate Jon because he's a child. She hates what he represents to her. Catelyn's story, or her arc, truly began when Bran was pushed from the tower. As a mother, Catelyn is consumed by grief and guilt. She barely eats, barely sleeps, staying by Bran's bedside for weeks. When an assassin attempts to kill Bran with the Valyrian steel dagger, Catelyn's fear transforms into certainty, and she knows that an assassin with a Valyrian steel blade just doesn't appear in Winterfell and appear in her crippled son's room. She secretly travels to King's Landing after that, where she makes two, let's call it, catastrophic errors. One, trusting Peter Baelish. I think we can all, after watching the show and reading a majority of the books, George, Winds of Winter would be nice to have at some point this year. Trusting him is not the greatest idea. It seems to bite everyone in the ass, even himself. Even Peter Baelish trusting Peter Baelish, not the best idea, and accepting what little circumstantial evidence she had as proof of what she thinks happened. Littlefinger tells her the dagger belongs to Tyrion Lannister. Catelyn, because she trusts Peter Baelish, strike one, she believes him. Not because the evidence is strong, but because she wants that to be the person. She wants that family to be the person. And then the world the continent of Westeros kind of gets filled with chaos after that. It's that decision that ultimately sets the War of the Five Kings into motion. The seizure of Tyrion Lannister on the road north, I believe it was at like the Inn of the Crossroads or something like that. That was the moment where Catelyn, driven by fear, pride, the sense of, my son had this happen to him, I have a righteous duty to take care of it, she arrests Tyrion Lannister in the name of the king. I don't necessarily think she had that power, but I digress. And this is a pivotal moment because it publicly accuses House Lannister of trying to kill her son. It removes any chance of a peaceful resolution, and, in my opinion, it directly endangered Ned Stark and caused his death. Catelyn brings Tyrion to the Eyrie, where Lysa Arryn's instability, I think in the books and the TV show, she comes off as kind of a nutjob. So there's that. It became very clear. And the trial by combat that frees Tyrion completely undermines Catelyn's cause. And from that point on, she kind of... everything spiraled out of her control at that point. When Ned Stark is arrested because of this and later executed, Catelyn's world collapses. She becomes a widow, a political advisor to Robb Stark, and a symbol of Stark legitimacy in the South, even though she's just Ned Stark's wife. Catelyn proves herself capable of what kind of, I don't know. She urges Robb to seek alliances, which... good call. The North doesn't have that much people. It's got the most land, but not the most people. So she urges him to seek alliances. Great call. Avoids unnecessary bloodshed. And she wants to trade Jaime for Sansa and Arya. Unlike many lords, Catelyn understands that war is not glorious. You see lots of times, even in today's world, young people think war is glorious. And good old Bobby Baratheon put it great, where he was talking about his first kill and the show, and he's like, yep, No one tells you about the smell because they all shit themselves or something like that. And it's like, that's not glorious. And Catelyn understood that. She's been through a few. It's about attrition. It's not about glory. And unfortunately for Catelyn, tragedy actually follows her because many times she wasn't necessarily ignored. They just decided to, let's call it, go in a different direction. Let's call Catelyn's most controversial oops or controversial decision comes when she frees Jaime Lannister. Her reasoning is, I guess, sound when it comes to a mother that went through what she has. She believes her daughters are in mortal danger. She lost Ned. She thinks she lost Bran. Robb is slipping beyond her control because, let's be honest, he's King of the North. He's kind of supposed to be the top dog, and he's not supposed to be listening to his mom every 3 seconds. It's not a political act, it's a mother's act. Catelyn knows the risk, she knows the punishment will be severe, but she chooses her children over honor, law, and even Robb's authority. This decision alienates her from the Stark bannermen and weakens Robb's position forever. At the Twins, during the Red Wedding, Catelyn kind of senses something's off. She notices the absence of key phrase, the strange behavior of the musicians, the lack of traditional, guest protections, if you will. When the massacre begins, Catelyn watches her son die. In her final moments, she kills a Frey girl in just a fit of rage. She begs Walder Frey to spare Robb. Her mind kind of, fractures. She has a mental break because she, again, just watched her son die. Her throat is cut, and Catelyn Stark dies, believing that all of her children are also dead. But Catelyn's story doesn't end there. She's ultimately revived by Beric Dondarrion, and she returns as Lady Stoneheart, which is a bit of a twisted, shell or echo of who she once was. Gone are mercy, reason, compassion. All that remains is vengeance. Lady Stoneheart represents the cost of war to a human soul. She's not a hero nor a villain. She is grief in human form. In conclusion, that's all we got for Catelyn Stark. Catelyn Stark isn't meant to be liked in every moment, and she's not meant to be understood in every moment. She is a product of her culture, a mother shaped by the fear of losing her family, and a woman navigating a world that offers her power through men and her children. Again, if you've read the book, watch the show. Read the books, watch the show. There's not much in Westeros for the ladies. You'll have your outliers from time to time, but it is a male-driven society. Her mistakes are human, her love is fierce, and her end is absolutely horrifying. Catelyn Stark's tragedy isn't that she failed her family, but she tried so desperately to protect them in a world that punishes love as often as it rewards strength. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Peace.